Okay, we are. We'll be live any second now.
We're nearly live. Sort of live, not live. It goes live.
Oops, sorry.
Right.
Absolutely live.
Good evening, everybody. And welcome to this week's edition of the Crypto News. Welcome, everybody. Welcome the panel. Welcome attendees, and welcome anyone who's on Facebook. Sorry about the 3-minute delay there, but we had a small issue with Facebook, which we just had to contend with, which has been dealt with now, and thank you very much. Tonight, I'm going to have, I've only got a small video for us all tonight. It's only very, very little, and I thought I might do it very, very near the start, but what we don't know, what we all do know, and what's quite interesting, what's happening in the crypto space, and more and more and more, but something that people may know, may not know, but cryptocurrency will do to banks what email did to the postal service. Now, we all know what happened is, I don't know if anyone all remembers, but the actual post offices worldwide tried to take over email. They wanted to control email. That way, the revenues could come back through them. They saw what it was going to do to them. Of course, it was not allowed. So anyway, the banks are now beginning to realize that if they don't get on board with this same situation with cryptocurrency is going to do to them. So they're all scrabbling around now and trying to get into the crypto space, which is very, very interesting. It's opening it up and broadening it, but by a long shot. So without further ado, what I wanted to do here now is I want to share a little video with everyone here. If you just bear with me 1 second. Oh, that's got Dave on. Okay, and this is the reason why I'm playing this video here is it's another reason to smash the cash ban. Now, we all know, like governments and banks, they're trying to get us all on cashless. And this next little video is going to explain why we're probably still going to need a little bit of cash and that sort of thing. So it's only a 5-minute video, so here we go.
Today, another reason to smash the cash ban.
Can we all hear that okay?
Can't hear it, Roger.
This used to be the
Can you hear
case,
it all right now,
which is
Guy?
why the account details on cards are actually embossed. This was
Yeah, it's coming through.
There's still no sound. I think it's when you mute yourself, Roger, the sound goes. Maybe the sound's just coming from your machine.
a 6-item limit and cash.
You're probably right.
Yeah, the sound's coming from your end, Roger. When you mute, we lose it.
Customers paid in cash only.
Not very loud.
Calculated their totals. And the Daily Mail told the same story with the headline "Looting Horror as Desperate Evacuees Steal from Petrol Stations and Shops After Power Outages Stop Them Using Credit Cards." On the state's south coast,
Not the loudest.
queued off shelves because ATMs weren't working and people had no money. In other towns, people were filling up their cars and driving off without paying as they had no cash to spend. In a digitally connected electronic world, it all turns to custard when the power goes off. But now consider this. We've been highlighting the issues relating to the current cash transaction restriction bill, which was passed by the lower house before Christmas and is now under review in the Senate, with a hearing planned in Sydney at the end of January and the report then to be released in February. As I discussed in my recent.
Just bear with me a second, people. I may be able to get this a little bit better.
Post, there are many reasons why we should resist this bill, but one which I called out was just the question of what happens in an emergency. As I said in my submission to the Senate, we have seen recent system and power failures which have caused disruption to the electronic payment systems. If cash is less available and restricted, a failure will be even more significant and inconvenient and could damage the economy. Now, the bill allows the cash to be used in, quote, exceptional circumstances, like power outages. But my point is that removing the ability to use cash for transactions above $10,000, making illegal what is legal today, is the thin end of the wedge. The effect is to trap people into the digital power-hungry banking system, restricting the use of cash and making us more reliant on unreliable electronic payment mechanisms. In addition, some supporters of the bill are arguing for a reduction in the limit to as low as $1,000. This would require additional legislation, but experience from overseas suggests this is a real risk. So I believe we need to maintain our full rights to pay in cash for whatever we want. It is, after all, legal, and that it is a good idea to keep a stash of cash for emergencies. In a recent survey, I found that more than half of households assumed that electronic payment means and ATMs would always be available in an emergency, so they did not hold cash in reserve. We need to expect the unexpected because in a fully digital future, a power cut is more than inconvenient. It has the potential to strip us of a fundamental human right. It's not too late to make sure that the Senate understands the full implications of the proposed legislation. I'm Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Many thanks for watching.
Sorry about that. I think it came through in the sound okay in the finish, but I do apologise. I think there was. Never mind. I don't see why we're having a few difficulties tonight. I've been doing it long enough, as Guy says. I should know better, but anyway, we're done now. What else has been happening? Very, very interesting is out of India, cryptocurrency not banned in India. RBI Reserve Bank of India says in Supreme Court. It has only ring-fenced it so it can regulate the entries from associated risk. Now, read into that to however you want, but sort of basically what they're saying is, yes, you can have cryptocurrency in India as long as it's regulated. So that seems to be more and more and more going down the line. Moving on a wee bit further, in Malaysia, Malaysia announces digital asset guidelines. The Securities Commission has basically said, well, they've published a guidelines book. All future token offerings, all future token offerings have to be all governed, and basically they can be carried out as long as they go on an approved platform, so they can be monitored. So that's very interesting about Malaysia as well. And on the nasties at the moment, it's coming up in the news now, Germany is now officially, well, Germany, the powerhouse of Europe, is now officially in recession. More to come in this space, we've got to see. Right, without further ado, it's enough of my banging on. I'm going to pop across to Social Dave, and Social Dave's going to give us a rundown on where he's at and his views on cryptocurrency.
Oh, blimey, where am I at? Good morning. And no, well, yeah, sorry, good morning. I'm looking at Guy. Good morning, Guy, and good afternoon.
Dave, can I just interrupt you there?
Of course you can, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say to everybody that's in, well, I know everyone on the panel understands this, and anyone that's in the attendees and anyone watching this on Facebook, I have it shared or whatever. All I wanted to say is the people on the panel, people speaking here, are all independent. We're not selling. We're not promoting anything. Okay. All we are doing is it's general crypto and financial news. And basically what we wanted to say is it's only our views. So independent views. So, and what research we've done. Okay, so thank you, and sorry about that, Dave. I'll pass that back to you.
That's all right. I was just going to say that you beat me to it.
You're more than welcome to repeat it, sir.
It was interesting what you were saying earlier about how email and the way email has taken over from the post office. I can think back to, there are times now when people email, the amount of email traffic is ridiculous. And you think back to the time prior to email, and I can just about remember that. And business correspondence was all done by mail, all letters, it was all posted. So not only has email made that process a lot quicker because it's more or less instant communication, it's absolutely trounced the volume, the amount of email compared to the amount of letters at their peak. The numbers don't compare. Well, if you think the way that's happened and the way the emails affected the snail mail, land-based mail, you could only think on, I think we mentioned, I the other week, I found out YouTube's 15, it's be 15 in February, 15 years, that's all it's been there for. So the internet's all relatively new, email, all relatively new, cryptocurrency, very new. Bitcoin itself is only just over 10 years old. So it's still relatively new. So where's that going to go? Where will that be in in 10 years time, 5 years time, 3 years time? You've already mentioned, you've got Germany technically it's gone into recession. I think it's technical, they're in recession. You've got economies being affected around the world with all sorts of different things, and whether it's actual physical things in the country or whether it's just politicians saying and doing things, and it affects the confidence in the currency. So there's fluctuations. I've said before, transferring money from one country to another via the banks can take 5 to 7 working days. Cryptocurrency, you can pretty much do it instantly. Card payments in the UK are now, I think contactless has now outstripped PIN number card transactions, and they've outstripped cash transactions. So more and more people are using their contactless. More and more people are actually using their phones because the cards are either on their phone or they've got iPay or Google Pay or Samsung Pay or whatever Pay, and they're just tapping their phones. Less and less cash. I know you just showed the video where they're warning people about the potential of having cashless societies, but we're being driven that way. So whether you want to go that way or not, we're being pushed and we're being driven that way by the banks, by the governments. I think I said last week I was in Sainsbury's, my local Sainsbury's. They've now got more card-only self-service tills than they've got cash self-service tills. So if you go in with cash and using those tills, you're actually at a disadvantage. So they want you to use cards. And of course they do, because then they haven't got to move the cash about, and the banks will charge them more for the cash and all the security around it. So they're all going digital. And the next step from digital is crypto. And again, I know I've said it before, it's here. It's not going away. You can't uninvent it. You're not going to forget about it. Now, maybe not every cryptocurrency is going to be like Bitcoin. Bitcoin's unique in as much as it was the first, which gave it a head start over every other cryptocurrency. But there will be other cryptocurrencies developed for different reasons or different ways, different technologies, different use of the technology. But it's all going to be here. And if you're being driven down a cashless route anyway by the banks, by the governments, and encouraged to use your cards all the time for various reasons, then why not get to the point where you get some control, you get some say? So if you get to the point where you can have a choice of whether you'd rather have dollars, pounds, euros, or whatever, and potentially be at the mercy, but certainly beholden to the money markets and the governments, why not make the choice and say, okay, well, I'll choose my own currency and I'll go into a cryptocurrency and I'll still be digital just like everyone else, but I'll have more say, I'll have more control, and I won't be at the whim of the money markets and the politicians and all the rest of them. Because if Germany goes into recession, it will affect the euro without a doubt, because they're the biggest economy, well, the biggest economy in Europe, certainly the driving force of the euro. So if they're in recession, if they're struggling, the euro will suffer as a result, and that's the rest of Europe suffering. So straight away, you've got to think about, well, where can you diversify? Where else could you put your wealth? Where else could you start diverging and divesting some of what you've got, and future-proof yourself? Because I say, it's not going away. It's just going to get faster. Technology will just get faster and faster. Of the developments and the progress and the expansion of it all, and it won't be long before Bitcoin will be tradable on your phone. Apple, if they decide to incorporate it, will be Apple Pay with Bitcoin. Google, if Apple do it, Google will do it, and then Samsung, and they'll all do it, and it'll just be a domino effect. So it's you might as well get in now and start looking at it. Start seeing what's about, start seeing what you can do, because it's here. It's not going away. It's only going to get more usable and then more widespread. That's sort of where I am with things, Roger.
Well, thank you, Dave. Much appreciated. But very interesting what you were saying about Bitcoin there. And I got some interesting statistics here on Bitcoin and what we didn't know about Bitcoin. Roughly at this present time, there's 10.08 million Bitcoins out of 20 million have actually been mined. Okay. But 11.58 million of those, which equates to about 64%, have never been used and may never be used. Now that's a very interesting statistic. There's a lot of them have been in wallets and they've been in there for years, and they've just not stopped now, whether that be lost because people have thrown away hard drives, whether it's been, I don't know, ill-gotten gains or whatever, and then people can't use it because they can track them immediately. I'm not really sure, but they reckon that a huge percentage of that 64% will never ever trade. So that's over half. That's almost like 64% is getting on for 3/4 of all of Bitcoin, which may never ever be used. So very, very interesting indeed. Anyway, so it's a staggering statistic, really. What else has been happening? Oh, this is quite interesting. I thought this was very good. Alphabet, Google's parent company, hits $1 trillion market cap. That's for the first time, which is pretty cool, really. They're getting into be a big company, but it just goes to show you that information technology, which they're all harvesting, is basically the way forward. But what they want to do is they want to know how many times you've been to the toilet and what you eat for breakfast, basically. So that's where we're going from there. Sorry, I had to add that in. And something else came up in the Times, which is a bit of a bash here, but never mind. But banks this was actually in the Times here in the UK. But banks forging signatures on industrial scale. Now, I'm not going to go into that, but we all know what it's about. So if it's beginning to get into the news, into the main media, the banks are starting to catch up on those a little bit. And without further ado on that, I'm going to pop across to Australia, and we're going to say hi to Guy. I think he's supping coffee, and he's been supping coffee long enough. And time we had a few words from him. I'll unmute you, mate. Oh.
Right, can you hear me?
Yes.
We both pressed the mute and unmute button, so we're playing Ring Ring a Rosie, muting each other.
That's
welcome, everybody. Good morning. Roger, thanks for playing a bit of Malcolm North's material. He's an Australian, for those that don't know. I listen to him pretty much every day, or 3 or 4 times a week. He's always got different podcasts going, or things on YouTube. So can you put up that link, because I think it's probably good for people in Australia and New Zealand, because he talks about the Kiwis a bit, to log in and subscribe to him. It's free, and he's got some really good information about banks, economics, how we're getting ripped off, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, coming back, behavioural finance. We've been talking a bit how people being lured into the cash ban, being lured into spending more digital money than cash money, so to speak. So behavioural finance, for those that don't understand it, It's basically behavioural habit. The government, big corporations are pushing people into habits of not using cash. And by doing that, it becomes easier and automatic. But at the end of the day, they get more control over us because with digital, we spend our money digitally. They can monitor everything we do, whether we've gone down to the local shop for a loaf of bread, or we've snuck out at 3 in the morning to grab a few beers. Everything will be logged, and government, big brother, if you want to call it, will know everything we do, and then marketing will be coming our way through the internet or through emails or through your Facebook feeds or whatever. People, they will start marketing directly to us what they find out about us. Now, I know we've all felt that in the near future, or not near future, recent past. Budgie's talking about emails. Yeah, I remember emails. It was fascinating when emails come out, and it has replaced the letterbox mail, because in my letterbox I'll get per week probably 3 pizza flyers, something from the local Indian curry shop, maybe a council notification or magazine which they're still printing, which is to me a waste of money. But that's about it. I might get one official letter because they can't track me down, good or bad, but the rest is email. Everything comes per email. And what else comes per email? Junk mail, spam. Do we get a lot of that? Of course we do. You know, I'm talking about the pizza coupons in the letterbox or junk mails. There's more coming through email, absolutely more, because it's free. So be aware of that. It's behavioural finance, behavioural habits. We as human beings like touch and go with those plastic cards now, but when it come out, we're all a bit wary. We didn't trust it, but once you do it once or twice, it becomes easy. As I said in previous shows, you don't need to carry cash anymore, so that's a good thing. However, Malcolm North did talk about people were in the digital space. We still, and the cash ban, that's what I was going to say, the cash ban, we've had all these fires in Australia, as you know. Now, in a lot of those areas, there's no power. So to go and do your daily chores, fuel up with fuel, go to the shop or whatever, you can't tap and go. So how do you pay for things? Do you think the shopkeeper's going to write an IOU list, come back tomorrow and pay me? I don't think so. So there's still, I believe, a need for cash. And I think a lot more people do use cash more than we think, especially elderly generation, because they're now with shares and interest rates, the returns aren't that good. So a lot of people are keeping it, literally are keeping it under the mattress or tucked away safely somewhere. So they're using cash. So just think about it. It's just big brother. Banks, corporations, government want to know what we're doing. I think it's unjust. It's freedom of choice has been taken away. So, you know, for those in Australia, listen to Malcolm North, register, subscribe to him. I think he's value added. He's unbiased in his information. He just gives it how he sees it. And he actually gets some really good guests sometimes on some of the shows. So it's well worth watching. But coming back to crypto, yes, there's lots and lots more cryptos happening around the world, as we know. And I think it was going to increase even more so, because it's an opportunity for people to make money by having cryptocurrency. People forget that. It's a great for us to have, but you've got to find the right crypto. And Budgie touched on social data, cryptos that give you usability of some sort. Just don't buy a crypto and hope it's going to go up or down so you can make money on the trade market if you like. So usability is key, and there's lots of different usabilities out there, whether it's on retail commerce. It can be for companies will be having cryptocurrencies for their own businesses. Now, on that, I can tell you 2 or 3 years ago, when I started getting involved with this, banks and governments did not want a bar of cryptocurrencies or blockchain technologies. They were basically putting it out there in the media. It's all a waste of time, it's a load of crap. Honestly, you got some big banks in America saying that. I think it was Morgan Chase Bank. Correct me if I'm wrong, Roger. They made a big noise about cryptocurrency and blockchain is a load of rubbish. Guess what? They're doing it themselves. Guess what? Governments are doing it themselves. Guess what? Big corporations are doing it themselves. Why are they doing it? Because they understand now they can collect more data on people, they can control people, they can make more money. So I've got nothing against people making money. That's what makes the world go round. We all got to make money to live. I get that. But when you get greed and control, it takes away the fairness. It divides the nation. You get more at the top end, less at the bottom end. More at the bottom end and less at the top end, because the rich get richer. And we all know most people's feelings about that. So I think everybody should have the equal opportunity to have a fair go in the world, because we're only here for a short while. But I think technology and the future in the next 20 to 30 years is going to be absolutely, totally different from what we know it now. And believe it or not, it's got nothing to do with cryptocurrency. But soon enough, we're going to be flying around like the Jetsons. Sure enough, I can see that happening. For those old enough that might remember the cartoon series, The Jetsons, where they flew around a little spacecraft around the planet. Those things will come. The change is happening. We've got to embrace change. And by embracing it and understanding and learning about it, will put you miles ahead of the masses. And that's probably the tip for today. Educate yourself, folks. You really need to understand changes that are coming, because it's going to affect your life big time. And if you understand it, you might be able to capitalize. So anyway, that's all from not so sunny Adelaide. It's a bit overcast. We're going to get a bit of rain. I wore a jumper this morning, so this odd weather for summer, but it'll get hot today, and look forward to seeing everybody and the rest of the team that are coming back from holidays in the weeks to come. Thanks, Roger.
Thank you, Guy. Superb. But I've got a little trick question for you before you go. When was the last time you slipped out at 3 a.m. in the morning for a couple of beers?
Roger, we agreed not to make this personal, this webinar. And after last week, you got me talking about picking up chicks, giving my secret that supermarket's a good place. Sometimes you have to duck out at 3 in the morning because, you might have a good dream or a premonition that there's a soccer match happening somewhere across the globe and you just want to go and watch it. So
that's fair enough.
The only place where you can watch it is grab a beer.
I'll accept that as a trick question. Okay. Just a couple of things to wrap up here, guys. Well, we're talking about what's happening and that sort of thing, and banks, like countries that were turning around and saying no to things and tightening up and that sort of thing. But Korea's financial minister approved banks working with crypto exchanges. So it's coming, it's beginning to come round and round and round, and the full circle's going. And with a last couple of things I wanted to do, this is a quote from Jack Ma. Okay, from Alibaba, yeah. Optimistic, fearless people create the future. And I think that is absolutely a superb statement. And the last thing I wanted to leave everything with is, we don't buy things with money. We buy them with hours of our time. And that's the way we work at the moment. So I'm afraid that's the way it is, and that's the way it works, okay? So without further ado, I wanted to say thank you to everyone on the panel here. I wanted to say thank you to anyone else. I wanted to say thank you to everyone else on Facebook. And I'm going to stop the live Facebook bag. Good night, everybody.